In 2021, so many people said, I'll invest when the market drops. They waited and waited. Meanwhile, I just kept investing every month. No prediction, no timing. Fast forward, most of them are still waiting. My portfolio? Up plus 38% just because I started instead of hesitated. Let me show you the hidden cost of waiting for the perfect moment. In 2021, so many people said, I will invest when the market drops. They waited and waited. Meanwhile, I just kept investing every month. No prediction, no timing. Fast forward, most of them are still waiting. My portfolio is up 38% just because I started instead of hesitated. Let me show you the hidden cost of waiting for the perfect moment. Welcome to Harper Mumbling. This is the story of an investor named Elena, and her experience reveals one of the most destructive investment myths, the belief that timing your entry perfectly matters more than simply getting started. Elena began investing in early 2021 with a simple plan, $500 per month into a total market index fund every month, regardless of market conditions. She shared this plan with coworkers during a lunch conversation about personal finance. The reaction was unanimous and immediate. You are starting now? The market is at all-time highs. You should wait for a correction. It always drops eventually. Be patient and you will get a much better entry point. The advice seemed logical. Why buy expensive shares when you could wait a few months and buy cheaper shares? Elena almost listened. She came very close to pausing her plan and waiting for that inevitable dip. But something made her question the logic. She asked her coworkers a simple question. How will you know when the dip has arrived? At what percentage drop will you start buying? Nobody had an answer. One said maybe 10% down. Another said 15%. A third said when it feels right. None of them had a specific plan. They were waiting for something they could not define. Elena made a choice that day that would define her investment trajectory. She decided that waiting for perfect conditions was itself a market timing strategy, and market timing required knowledge she did not possess. She could not predict when the market would drop. She could not predict how far it would drop. She could not predict when it would recover. Rather than pretend she had these abilities, she would simply start investing immediately and let time do the work. So her first $500 investment executed that week at what were indeed all-time high prices. The next 6 months tested her resolve repeatedly. Her coworkers continued their wait. The market continued climbing. Every week, someone mentioned that the correction was coming any day now. Valuations are stretched. The economy is overheated. A crash is inevitable. The implication was clear. Elena had made a mistake by starting when she did, and that mistake would be revealed soon when the market fell and their patience was rewarded. Elena kept investing $500 per month every month, watching her contributions buy shares at prices that kept reaching new highs. Here is what Elena understood that her coworkers did not. Even if a correction came, even if the market dropped 10 or 15% after she started investing, she would still be better off than someone who had not started at all. Her contributions would accumulate. She would buy shares at high prices, medium prices, and low prices. The average cost of all those purchases would smooth out the volatility. More importantly, every month she was invested was a month her money was exposed to potential growth. Every month they waited was a month with zero possibility of gains. By the end of 2021, something fascinating had happened. The correction everyone predicted had not materialized. The market had continued its upward march with only minor pullbacks that recovered within days. Elena had invested $6,000 over 12 months. Her account balance was roughly $6,800, a 13% gain. Her coworkers had invested $0. Their account balances were zero. Their gains were zero. They were still waiting for that perfect entry point. The conversations at lunch changed tone. Instead of warning Elena about the coming correction, her coworkers now asked when she thought they should start investing. She gave them the same answer she would give anyone. Start now. Stop waiting. There will never be a perfect moment, and waiting for one costs you real money. But the psychological barrier had grown stronger with each passing month. They had committed publicly to waiting for a dip. Starting now would mean admitting they had been wrong, so they continued waiting, rationalizing that the correction must be even closer now after such a long run-up. Then 2022 arrived and finally delivered the correction everyone had been anticipating. The market began a prolonged decline that would eventually see major indices drop more than 20% from their peaks. Elena's portfolio declined with the market. By mid-2022, her account was below her total contributions. She was experiencing her first significant drawdown, and it was uncomfortable. But here is what made the experience bearable. She had been invested for 18 months already. She owned shares purchased at various price points. Her average cost per share was well below the peak prices. And most importantly, she kept investing through the decline, buying more shares at lower prices. Her coworkers finally saw their opportunity. The dip had arrived. Some of them started investing, convinced they had timed it perfectly. But here is what they discovered. Buying during a decline is psychologically brutal. When you start investing while the market is falling, every purchase feels like catching a falling knife. The shares you bought yesterday are worth less today. The shares you buy today will probably be worth less tomorrow. There is no immediate gratification, no confirmation that you made the right choice. Several of her coworkers made one or two purchases and then stopped, unable to handle the psychological weight of watching their new investments immediately lose value. Elena faced the same psychological challenge, but she had a crucial advantage. Habit. She had been investing for 18 months. The automatic transfer was routine. It happened every month, whether she thought about it or not. Her coworkers were making conscious decisions each month about whether to invest, and conscious decisions during market declines tend toward inaction. Elena's automation removed the decision entirely. The money left her account, bought shares, and life continued. By the end of 2023, when the market had recovered and reached new highs, the results were clear. Elena had been investing for 3 years, contributing $18,000 total. Her account balance was approximately $24,800, a gain of 38% on her contributions. Her coworkers, who started in mid-2022 during the dip, had invested for about 18 months, contributing roughly $9,000. Their balances were around $10,200, gains of about 13%. They had timed the dip perfectly and still underperformed Elena, who never attempted any timing at all. The math explains why. Elena had been collecting returns for a full 18 months before they even started. Those early shares, purchased at 2021 prices that seemed expensive at the time, had gone through a full cycle of decline and recovery. They were now worth more than she paid. She had also accumulated far more shares by investing continuously through the entire period. When the market recovered, she had more shares appreciating in value. Time in the market had beaten timing the market by a substantial margin. But the real cost to her coworkers was not just the difference in returns. It was the mental energy wasted on prediction and timing. For 2 years, they obsessed over when to start. They consumed market commentary, debated valuations, tried to identify the perfect moment. They experienced the anxiety of waiting, the fear of missing out, and the regret of watching opportunities pass. Elena experienced none of that. She made one decision in early 2021 to start investing consistently, and then she stopped thinking about timing entirely. She freed her mental energy for other things while her coworkers were trapped in analysis paralysis. Elena learned that the perfect time to start investing is always now, not because now is guaranteed to be the best entry point, but because now is the only moment you can actually control. You cannot control when the next correction will come or how severe it will be. You cannot control when the recovery will start or how fast it will climb. You can only control whether you are invested or not, and being invested gives you the possibility of gains while waiting guarantees you nothing. The coworkers who finally started investing in 2022 learned a related lesson. Timing the dip does not help if you cannot sustain the discipline to keep investing through the dip. The perfect entry point is worthless if you make one purchase and stop. The only strategy that reliably builds wealth is consistent investment regardless of conditions, and that strategy works whether you start at market peaks, market bottoms, or anywhere in between. The starting point matters far less than the consistency and duration. Looking back, Elena's decision to start immediately despite the all-time highs, despite the predictions of correction, despite the universal advice to wait, turned out to be one of the best financial decisions of her life. Not because she got lucky with timing, but because she eliminated timing from the equation entirely. She stopped trying to predict the unpredictable and started focusing on what she could control: regular contributions and long-term commitment. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button. Subscribe to Runaway with Kristen for more real investment journeys without the hype or the shortcuts. Leave a comment sharing your own experience with boring versus exciting investment strategies. Have you been tempted to abandon a simple approach for something more active? Have you learned lessons about discipline the hard way? Turn on notifications so you don't miss future videos in this series. And if you know someone who's doubting their boring investment strategy became impressive enough, share this video with them. Sometimes the most valuable thing is knowing you're not alone in choosing discipline over excitement. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. The people who are still waiting for the perfect dip will always be waiting. Markets reach new all-time highs regularly because that is how growing markets work. If you only invest after significant declines, you miss years of potential growth waiting for those declines. And when they finally arrive, the psychological difficulty of buying during fear often prevents you from acting anyway. The only winning strategy is to start now and keep going, accepting that some purchases will be at high prices, some at low prices, and most somewhere in between. This is Harper Mumbling, and if Elena's story convinced you that today is as good a time as any to start or increase your investing, I would appreciate it if you would like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with anyone who is waiting for perfect conditions that will never arrive. Leave a comment below about your experience with market timing or the decision to just start regardless of conditions. Turn on notifications so you never miss future videos about the real psychology of building wealth. Thank you for watching, and remember, the best time to start investing was yesterday, but the second best time is right now.